Hi guys, welcome to a new time-lapse art video. The piece that you are seeing in this video is called Ice Cream Land, and you can see the entire piece on my portfolio website. I'll leave all the links down below. You can also see the process explained in written form on my Behance profile. Again, links will be down below. And just for your information, there are two versions of this video. The first one is open to the public. It's probably the one that you're watching, and I'll be talking about my color palette, how I kind of chose my colors for this piece and achieved a very unified mood and look. And I'll also be talking about why this took me so long, as in how I struggled with my perfectionism and overcame it. In the extended version of this video, I'll be talking about some illustration ideas that I have for the future, confidential ideas that I would normally not share in the public like that. And yeah, maybe you might be interested in hearing what inspires me and how I think, how I tick creatively, so to speak. And that extended video will be available if you become a member of my Buy Me a Coffee page. Again, links will be down below. Anyway, let's get into the video. Oh, by the way, you can watch the whole process on the screen if you like, but you can also totally just listen to this video as a visual podcast, so to speak. I can keep you company as you work, and you can look up sometimes if you wish and see what I'm doing, but really it's okay if you just listen to this as a podcast. So for the colors of this particular piece, I'll be really honest, normally when I choose colors for my illustrations, I don't really have like a technical or theoretical approach by any means. Yes, I did learn color theory in school, but when I choose colors for my pieces, to be honest, I just go by feeling and logic. So for this piece, I knew, because there was a lot of ice cream and stuff, I knew the colors should be kind of on the pastel-y side, but not too pastel-y because I don't like colors that are too washed out. I knew kind of instinctively that this piece was screaming, so to speak, for lots of purples and pinks and this mint green color because, mint ice cream. So I knew those three colors would be in the piece. And normally I try not to have too many colors in my color palette. So 5 to 6 swatches is just about right for me. So I added 3 more colors, and to give myself a little bit more choice, more options in terms of the colors, normally what I always do is I split each of my swatches into 3 different shades so that I have a highlight, a midtone, and a shadow. I suppose if you really wanted to give this color scheme a technical term, I suppose it would be like 2 split complementaries or 2 triadic color schemes. Something that also helped me unify the entire color palette of this piece at the end is the fact that I used a matchbook style texture overlaid on the entire piece. You will see it by the end of this video if you're tuned into the exclusive version, but just so you know, I used a texture overlaid on this piece, and it kind of gave it a warm hue and tied all the colors together. If you're interested in this texture that I use, I'll definitely leave a link down below, even if you're watching the non-extended version. So anyway, why did this piece take me so long? So there are several reasons for this. The first one is that it was an entirely new challenge for me. I feel like up until this point, I'd always said like, I'm not a background girl. I don't like doing backgrounds. I don't like giving my pieces depth. I'm not about that. I'm more about making more surreal images and making it look more collage and pattern-like. But when I had the idea for this piece, I knew that it needed a background. It needed a proper scenery. So that's why I had to learn how to implement 3-point perspective in order to properly execute my vision. So really, it just started with the idea itself. It wasn't because I was like, I need to nail 3-point perspective. It was literally because like, I have this idea, and in order to show everything that I want to show, I need to implement 3-point perspective. Anyway, I have another video where I'm kind of talking about tackling this complex subject. So I'll just leave that linked in this video as well if you're interested in watching that. The second reason is that I actually was busy with other things this past month or so. I had to do online teaching. I was busy with a graphic design job. So this kind of fell back on my priorities, but I still kind of try to work on it as much as possible. You know, every other day I would work like 2 or so hours on it and just try to keep the ball rolling on it, try to move the needle. I just knew that I wouldn't be able to spend like a whole day on it anymore just because I had all these other priorities. So that's another reason why it took so long. And then finally, the reason why this took me a while to finish is because my perfectionism. I definitely have this habit of slipping into this fixation on making sure that everything looks correct, everything looks right. Even when I look at this piece now, there are some parts where I'm like, I feel like I should have done this differently. I feel like that isn't correct, and someone else is going to see it and someone else is going to point it out and not like this piece and yada yada, you know, all of this kind of stuff, which actually isn't that important. I do think on the one hand that it's good to kind of have like a perfectionist mindset. Well, not really perfectionist, but more like have like this care for making things look good. I do think there's somehow value in that, but you do have to find balance. You do have to find a point where you're like, okay, this is how far I'm actually going to care. You need to put boundaries on your inner care, so to speak. Something that really helped me while trying to reach the finish line, because another thing is I feel like the longer you actually spend on a piece, the more you tend to kind of slip into this perfectionist and fixing things kind of mentality. So there is kind of that danger of that if you just spend longer and longer on that. So anyway, something that helped me through this was actually listening to a few talks by Elizabeth Gilbert. I know that Eat, Pray, Love is not really everyone's thing. It's not really my thing. But I do think that Elizabeth Gilbert has something really valuable and worthwhile and insightful to say about creativity and creative work. And one of my favorite things that she says is that it's not worth it to put yourself on the cross of perfectionism. It's better to just accept that the things that you make aren't always going to be perfect and just be done with it and then move on. That is much more satisfying than allowing yourself to get kind of stuck in that cycle, that hamster wheel of perfectionism where nothing is ever good enough. And so, yeah, with this piece of as well, I had to kind of accept that I would probably never be 100% satisfied with it, but that at the end of it all, it was still a good learning experience. And I still like this piece. It still has something special about it, even though it's not perfect. One day, maybe I'll create a better piece, and in future, I'll be a better artist. But for now, this is all that I'm capable of. And, you know, that's fine. I'll leave a link down below to one particular Elizabeth Gilbert talk that really helped me and inspired me to finish this piece and just get it done and over with, and just give me that motivation and not feel so bad about myself. Anyway, if you're watching the non-exclusive version of this video, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, if you would like to access the exclusive version where I talk about my future illustration ideas, then please click on the link down below and subscribe to my Buy Me a Coffee page. I have a bunch of other exclusive videos there that you can watch as a member, and you'll get a motivational doodle every month, and you'll even get an exclusive doodle portrait upon joining. But anyway, enough of that plug. If you are watching now the exclusive version of this video, hi. As I said, I wanted to do something that maybe isn't very typical of me. One of you asked me if I'm working on anything new at the moment, and the answer is no, I'm not, because I need a little break in between this piece and the next one. But I do have a bunch of future illustration ideas planned, and I thought it might be interesting for me to share them and share my thinking behind them and kind of what inspires me. And it does feel a little bit awkward to share them, because when I get an idea, I don't sketch it out or anything. It all really starts with words, and I just dedicate a little corner of my planner to all of these ideas that I have. So whenever I'm kind of struck by inspiration, it can happen really randomly, honestly. I decide if it's worth my attention, if it's worth kind of taking note of. And if it's really compelling, then I put it into that little corner of my notebook. The reason that I do this is that I really don't like the feeling of being overwhelmed by all of these different illustration ideas. If I don't take note of them, then I will feel this immense pressure to have to execute it immediately. And then before I know it, I'm completely distracted and unfocused. So it's better for me to just catch them and write them down, put them on a list, and then kind of go through them one by one. And another nice thing of having this list is once you tick off a bunch of ideas, it actually feels really satisfying and motivating. So that's another reason why I do that. So anyway, let's kind of look at this list together. For number 1, I wrote Climate Strike, which is a piece I already finished, and there's a big fat tick next to it for that reason. The second one is Ice Cream Land, which is this piece that you saw in this video, once again with a big fat tick going right through it. Very satisfying. Then idea number 3 that I have is Space Cafe. So I want to create like a cafe-like environment that is space themed. Maybe it's somewhere in space and like all the dishes and all the drinks are like space and just like alien themed or something like that. And I don't really know how I got this idea. I think I was just talking to a friend one day and I don't know, I just got struck by this idea. And a lot of my art is all about creating like fantasy or ideal universes, and so that would kind of fit into that. Then number 4, this idea that I have, it says tips on sustainability. Okay, so I think I wrote down this idea because one time I did this poll on Instagram and I asked my audience, like, what would you want to see from me? And this is what they answered. Now that I look at it, I'm kind of like, I don't really want to do it. I'm not really so interested in it anymore. That's another thing that sometimes happens with this list. Like, it's better for me to kind of write down all of the sudden ideas that I have and then evaluate them later before I kind of try and execute every single idea that I get, because sometimes you might realize that, oh, actually, like, I didn't really like that, or it doesn't really speak to me as much as I thought. Number 5 is tips on how to eat more plant-based. Again, this is something that was sort of audience requested, but now that I look at it again, like, I'm not really sure if I want to actually execute that. At the moment, I feel like I'm going through a phase in my art where I don't really want to do anything aligned with activism. I just want to do stuff that is purely joyful. All right, so for number 6, this is interesting. I wrote naked plant people. Naked spelled Nekkid. Oh my god, I'm so glad I made this video exclusive, because reading some of these ideas kind of makes me cringe. I suppose that I do have a vested interest in showing diversity in my piece. And for this piece, I suppose I wanted to show people of different gender identities, kind of like half naked and sort of submerged in these plants, to kind of show that like everyone's bodies are perfect and natural and cool and awesome in the way that they are, kind of. And yeah, I just really like drawing plants as well, so that was kind of the idea behind that. Sounds like an interesting idea. I think I might still pull through with that. All right, so for number 7, another idea that I have to cringe at, it just says misunderstood soya baby. Soya and then BB, so a soya baby, which basically just means tofu in my note-taking language. I think I had like this idea once that I wanted to illustrate a little guide on how to cook tofu, because a lot of people seem to not be able to know how. Again, now that I look at it, I'm kind of like, I'm not really interested in this. All right, so for number 8, I have, oh my god, I have to read it closer. It says something like, it says Fantasy Mushroom Land IDK. So some kind of like magical land full of mushrooms probably is the idea behind this. I feel like I'm getting a flashback to the vision that I had for this, and it sounds cool, but I'm actually not sure if I want to pull through with this. All right, for number 8, number 2, I guess I have 2 number 8 points here because I don't know why. I wrote masked people. Oh, okay. So this was kind of inspired by the whole COVID-19 situation that we're having right now. In Germany, a lot of people are actually wearing like homemade masks. So a lot of people are actually customizing their masks with fabrics that they like, especially little children. And I kind of thought it was really interesting and inspiring somehow that people are really personalizing a public issue. And I guess I just wanted to make like a crowded portrait scene with lots of different types of masks and maybe turn that into a coloring page as well. Then for point 9, I have, it just says, don't tell women what to wear. This was planned to be a more simple piece. It was kind of inspired by my recent experience of being harassed and insulted because I was wearing like basically in my own home. So maybe I might do that at some point. And then for the final idea that I have on this list, it says video game bedroom. Okay, so to explain this, when the whole coronavirus thing started, it seemed like everyone was turning to these social, like role-playing video games. And I thought it was kind of cool, like a really cute way of people sort of unifying and reaching out to each other, you know, through these cute video games. I myself started playing Stardew Valley, which is not as social as Animal Crossing, but I really like that idea. So the idea for this piece would be to draw someone in their bedroom playing a video game, and then everything in their bedroom is kind of turned into like this video game environment. So maybe I'll still do that. But for now, I'm just gonna focus on whatever comes next on this list. Anyway, exclusive member viewership. If you're still watching, if you're still listening, thank you so much for tuning into another video, and thank you so much for supporting me. I'll see you in the next one, and thank you again so much for your support. Bye!